Hi, everyone. It is Phil Bailey here, back for another episode of the London, Ontario Real Estate Podcast. We are getting into the colder months here in London. Right now, as I'm recording, we're into November, which I know we saw our first snowfall this week in London. Luckily, we avoided the snow at Halloween, but I do remember lots of memories from a kid of wearing my snowsuit over my Halloween costume, which I did not have to do this year, which is great. I hope all is well with all of you today. And one of the things I really wanted to focus on today in the podcast is this question I keep getting about when is the best time to sell your home based on the season that we're in. And it's been interesting because I was reading about a survey that they did. This is with my brokerage, Royal LePage, actually, our entire brand of brokerages across Canada. And they were really saying that a lot of agents right now, and I think, myself, I'd probably put myself in this camp. Obviously, it depends on the specific situation, that almost 79% of agents right now are going to advise that clients actually consider selling their home in the winter months, in the colder months, and not just wait until spring. So this used to be closer to probably a 50-50 number, maybe a 60-40 number. And now things, I think, are changing a lot. And what I've noticed in the last few weeks in London, definitely in the last week, is that inventory is exceptionally low in the city. I think a lot of folks are thinking, hey, why are we even considering listing our home right now? We should just wait until the spring. Also, people don't want to move in the winter. It's not a great time to move in the winter. But if you can get that much more money for your home because you're not competing against other potential listings, I think you may want to at least consider it. So I put together a top 10 list of what you can do if you are getting ready to sell your home in the winter months versus the spring. So one of the big ones that I've noticed, and I think it's actually a very good idea, is if you are going to be doing photography, I would recommend, and you should be doing photography, I would definitely recommend that we get a photographer, a videographer into the home soon. So say you're going to be listing your home in early January when there's probably going to be snow on the ground, not always. You might want to get some of those beautiful shots of your backyard, especially if you have a pool, great landscaping, even the outside shots of the home. We want to get the photos and the video done to be able to show both of the seasons. So we want to see what that grass looks like in the spring and the summer. And what we don't want to do is just kind of avoid that. So we can work on that now, and we can actually have a timeline that maybe comes up in a month or two if you're not ready quite yet because you're still going through the inside of the home. But that might be a really good idea. Also, make sure that folks have access to your home. So we want to make sure that we're clearing the pathways, make sure the walkway's clear. This also can be a bit of a liability issue. I know I'm not a lawyer. I always say that on the air, but we want to really make sure that people have access and they can get into the home. I'd also recommend turning up the heat in the home to really a comfortable temperature. If you do have a fireplace, I had one house this week which the fireplace was on. I think an agent left it on and it was exceptionally hot. I don't think it was me, but we don't want it too hot, but we probably want it still, around that 20 to 22 degrees Celsius or whatever 70 degree Fahrenheit range for the home. We also want to seal up any drafts in the windows and the doors. The other thing too is I definitely want to put a large mat at the front of your house if you're selling in the winter, because we don't want to have people dredging through. We also want, if there's four people maybe in the home or 3 people in the home at once, we want to make sure that they have room to take off their boots and their coats. Especially if you have an older folks coming into the home, we probably want to make sure there's a little bench there that they can take off their shoes, so they're not really getting on your carpet or your hardwood and making it not look as nice for the next showing. You have to remember that a lot of showings are going to happen in a row because of the COVID protocols that are in place right now. We still don't want to show all of the agents at the same time. Back in the good old days, we could do that. But right now, each agent's booking usually a 30-minute slot. We're getting in there and we're making sure that you have as much as possible access to that home for those 30 minutes. But we want to make sure that there is, availability for them to get into the home. Also, You can do some interesting things around winter kind of curb appeal, even though it doesn't maybe have the best look of the entire year. You can upgrade the mailbox, the house number, add some winter floral arrangements, potentially get some outdoor plants that still will look good. Something really hardy, obviously. Maybe some holiday related content as well out there for you. And also make sure that when you are showing the home that we leave the lights on. We don't want to have a very dark home when you walk in, especially with the days becoming shorter and shorter as we lead up to December. What we want to do is we want to have as many lights on as possible. Make sure the outdoor lights is on as possible too. I know I've had this before where I can't even open the lockbox and get the key into the door when I'm showing a property. So make sure you leave some lights on. I know it might not be the best for your hydro bill, but you're probably going to have someone in there most of the time. And then at the end of the day, you or your agent can turn off the lights and make sure they're on in the morning. I've worked this process on every listing I've had, and it usually just makes the home show a heck of a lot better than it would without. Whenever you possibly can, try to show the house during the daytime. So if I were your agent and I was showing clients through, I would try to get them in during the daylight. Obviously, more natural light comes through. It's not always possible when other agents are showing, so we definitely want to make sure that the lights are on inside the home. You want to make sure that front door has a bit of a pop, so maybe some seasonal decor. Make sure it's warm, inviting. One of the last ones too that I'll mention too is that you can still showcase kind of the outdoor space. So we want to clear off outdoor furniture that can be obviously used in the winter, or bring it in and just make sure that there's a clear space out there so they can see the patio. It's not just completely covered in snow. I know this is annoying. I would really, like it if obviously it didn't snow too much here. I know maybe my skier friends wouldn't agree with me, but it does. And we're in London, Ontario. We're going to have to clear off some snow, and we're going to want to make sure that things are obviously available for people to see, and if they're not, it's going to be a big problem. So kind of my final point I did want to touch on as we wrap up the episode today is just around what the heck's happening in the actual market right now. I was for a while there, and I know on the podcast I was talking a lot about I'm almost seeing a slowdown in a lot of ways, so maybe 3 to 5 offers instead of 40 offers. Now we're kind of in between. I've been dealing with a few multiple offer situations in the last, say, 7 days, and all of them are getting over 10 offers, some even closer to that 20 marker or over. Listing agents, like myself, I think we're making sure that we're pricing conservatively and competitively. We want to make sure that this is based on comparables. So that's one thing that you can give me a call and I can set up a free home valuation. I just literally come in, we have a discussion. You tell me what you like, what you don't like about the house, maybe things that need to be fixed. I can give you some tips. And then at the end of the process, I can look at those comparables and give you an idea of probably where we would want to list that home. And then kind of the second number is where we think we would probably end up. I know that back in the good old days, we'd list a home. It would always sell for likely around that price or maybe even a little bit lower. Nowadays, it's kind of the other way around in London. We're in a seller's market. So if you're listing a home at $699,000 and your price expectation might be closer to $750,000, right? I still want to be really conservative with those numbers, especially if you're buying another property. And this is a question I get all the time is, what do we do? We have to sell our house, but we also have to buy something. A lot of clients that I'm working with are buying something before they are selling their house. There's a risk involved in that, but there's also a risk in being homeless. So yeah, you could rent a place, but most people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to live with their in-laws for that long or their parents for that long. So a lot of the time, I'd say the process is still working where because of the lack of inventory, we're finding a home that makes sense. We're doing a 60-day close, maybe a 90-day close if we can push it. We're listing your property, doing maybe a 45 or a 60-day close, and we're getting those lined up as much as possible. So you maybe have a 2-week process or a 1-week process to move. Certainly wouldn't recommend you do it on one day, and you definitely want to make sure that there's a little bit of overlap. And obviously, not a mortgage broker either, but you can talk to your banker, your mortgage broker about how they can bridge that for you. And typically, that's how it's been working in the London area over the last year with my clients that are buying and selling. So if you'd like to consider selling your home, I would just look at the numbers and kind of see if it makes sense to do this maybe sooner than you originally thought. I think what will happen in the spring is that you're going to see a lot more listings on the market. There's still a lot of buyers, so maybe that will add up where it will actually even out pretty quickly. But there's a bit of an equilibrium that's happening right now. We want to make sure that we're definitely listing at a competitive price and we're taking advantage of the low inventory market in London. Give me a call at any time, or you can send me a text. It's 226-977-2348. You can text me directly. Or, of course, you can always email me as well. It's philbailey@royallepage.ca. I'll leave some notes in the show notes as well. And, of course, if you have a topic for a future episode you'd like me to tackle, I'd be happy to do so. Have a great day, and thanks so much for listening.